Okay. Well, I look so sad right now because I just did the entire goal setting session in one whole hour and the recording didn't save. So, those that were gunning for the recording, here's how it's going to go. Because I cannot go through this a third time. I've already done this presentation one more time. I am going to go through each question, but I'm not going to pause. So typically when I go through this presentation, I pause to give the people doing the live session time to write things down. But those of you that are doing the recording, it would be a great help if you're going to be okay with just hitting pause after each question. I am going to elaborate on them. This is why I didn't want to give just the PowerPoint. I want to be able to elaborate a little bit. So first of all, I appreciate that you've taken the time out of your day, out of your evening, out of your life, even if you're going through this, starting and stopping. I appreciate that you take that time, and I hope that you pull out a nice fresh notebook, pens, paper, highlighters, make things look a little bit pretty, whatever works for you, and see if you can kind of like set yourself, even if you have to do this in a couple of seatings, make sure you've got time for yourself, flip your phone over, listen to some music, whatever works for you. So the whole purpose of this is to reflect on the year that we just had, 2022. We're going to look at where you were beginning of 2022, where you are now, and then look at your dreams and ambitions for 2023. And who do you need to be? What kind of things you need to do to accomplish those things in 2023? Okay, so as you're going through, hit pause, write things down, hit play. Right? It's going to be a little bit faster than, of course, what you would have gotten if you joined me live. So the first thing that we're going to do, though, first of all, favorite quote ever: I create and allow everything in my life. Just recognizing that, of course, there are things that are out of our control. There are things that happen to us, but we are in control of the thoughts that we think, the things that we see in our mind's eye, and the actions that we do take. So how we respond to those things, whether good or whether bad, is really important. Okay, so I create and allow everything in my life. It's just a wonderful reminder that we have control over the things that we want to accomplish. We can put the effort in. We can make the plan. We can hire the trainer. We can watch extra game film, etc. All the things that you set out to do, you can do those, or you can just kind of blindly sit by and let life happen to you. Up to you. I want to remind you that, of course, we're looking at this is a goal setting session, but we can set goals related to anything. It doesn't have to be just curling. Okay, how you are in one aspect of your life, you're likely very similar in other aspects of your life. Okay, and the other thing to think about is that progress is not linear. Okay, so recognizing that your goals that you set whenever you're working to become a better human, better athlete, better at focusing, better fitness, etc. It's not a perfectly linear increase. There are going to be ups and downs, but hopefully the overall trend is upwards. This is an emotion wheel because I'm going to ask you on 2 occasions, how are you feeling? First of all, you can look at this and say, how am I feeling right now? And there are some base emotions that most people are aware of: love, fear, anger, sadness, surprise, and joy. But off of each of those emotions are more specific emotions. We might feel sad, but really what we're feeling is displeased or regretful or guilty. Okay, so we can get to the root of those feelings. Same thing with love. There are so many different types of love. Is it a romantic love? Is it passionate? Or is it more of a grateful and appreciative love, for example? Now, I like to start all of these sessions with a breathing exercise because I feel like we need to get into the right mindset. We're go, 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 go before we sit down and do this, and then we need to do things afterwards. So we're going to go through this breathing exercise called box breathing. We're going to do 4 rounds, and I'm going to count you through. But if you need to breathe at a different tempo at any point, or hit pause and do a couple more, then by all means, you do you. Okay? So here we go. So you're going to inhale for a count of 1, 2, 3, 4. You're going to hold your breath for a count of 1, 2, 3, 4. You're going to breathe out for a count of 4, 3, 2, 1. And you're going to hold the bottom for 4, 3, 2, 1. We're going to repeat that. Inhale, 1, 2, 3, 4, and hold it. 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then hold it. 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale, 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold it. 1, 2, 3, 4. Breathe out for 4, 3, 2, 1, and hold it for 4, 3, 2, 1. Last time. Inhale, 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold it. 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale. 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold it. 4, 3, 2, 1. Beautiful. Let your breathing happen naturally. Maybe you can check in again. How are we feeling now? Is it different? This breath work is pretty powerful. The next thing I like to do is identify something that you're really grateful for. And it could be something you're grateful for right now in this moment. Okay, but I do want you to see if you can write a list of things that you're grateful for. Grateful for things that you received, that you tried, you attempted, you accomplished in 2022. This is a very difficult question for a lot of people. So if you are struggling to write something down, be incredibly simple. I am grateful for my coffee in the morning. I am grateful for my dog that sits on my feet while I do work. I am grateful for the car that drives me to curling. Really simple things. It doesn't have to be, I'm grateful I have hats. It could be anything. And you can be grateful for anything. Then I want you to think about what your greatest accomplishment was in 2022. And you might start this off with listing a bunch of accomplishments. Look back through your phone, your photos. Look back through your calendar. This is where we start to identify some different types of accomplishments or goals. Speaking of outcome goals, I won a specific championship. I won a specific game. We have performance goals. I shot 70% in a curling game, and then the next week I shot 75% after changing something in my technique. Okay? And we also have process goals. I set out to work out 3 times per week in the summer, and I did it. I was going to wake up every morning and do a meditation, and I did it. Now I want you to visualize yourself back in 2022, this time last year. If you did my goal setting last year, yay, maybe look back through your book, see if there's anything, like what were you hoping to accomplish from last year to now? Okay, so there's a few questions that kind of go together. I'm going to read them all out and then kind of double back. Where were you at the start of 2022? What has changed? And what hasn't changed? So I want you to think about things like, where were you living? Who were you living with? What was your job? Did you have a specific hobby that you were doing? Were you on a specific curling team? How many times were you on the ice? Okay. What hasn't changed? This could be taken in a bunch of different ways. There's 2 different ways. 1, what hasn't changed? Was there something that you hope to continue doing this year and you were able to stay really consistent with? Awesome. Again, I meditated every single day in January in 2021. So my goal was to continue to meditate every single day, and I did that. So that hasn't changed. Or what hasn't changed? Maybe you set out to have a goal. I'm going to work out 3 times a week. And you're at this part, you're looking at your day now and you're going, I'm not working out 3 days a week consistently. So that's something that hasn't changed. Okay, that discipline or that time management, what hasn't changed? So thinking about where you were at the beginning of the year, what has changed and what hasn't changed, for the good or the bad. Okay, this comes from my performance gap analysis. So every spring, I send out the free performance gap analysis to all my newsletter subscribers. So if you're now part of the newsletter, yay, you're going to get this in the spring. My VIP athletes get a more specific version of that questionnaire. So the next few questions come from those to just kind of start to dictate what we're doing is where we are now, where do I want to be? And then what's the dissonance? And what that does is it triggers my brain to want to make a change. I'm here. I want to be there. What do I need to do? This is that feeling of that urgency, that momentum that a lot of people want. If you were to step on the ice today, describe your performance. Okay, so for example, you can just talk about your performance overall. Stephanie is a really energetic player. She loves to sweep. She loves to throw really heavy weight, but is actually really good at those inside out draws behind a guard, even though she's a second. Okay. I can look specifically. How's your delivery? How's your setup? Do you have a pre-shot routine? How's your balance? How's your accuracy? How's your power? How's your weight control? Which arm is down when you're sweeping? Do you feel like you're a smart sweeper? You judge rocks really well, communicate, remember paths, help your teammates. How are you as a skip? You describe your performance. And then I want you to let me know how you feel about your performance. Go back to that feeling wheel, that emotion wheel, and identify a feeling about your performance in general. You're allowed to hold more than one feeling. Okay. I also want you to look at this in terms of your overall life performance in 2022. So curling performance, how do you feel? But how do you feel about the entire year and your efforts and the things that you were trying to accomplish? And again, you can have more than one emotion. Then I want you to identify what your number one struggle is. And maybe something popped up when you were describing your curling performance. Or maybe something popped up when you were thinking about how you were feeling about your life performance. What is your number one struggle? And I encourage you to kind of write a little bit of a list. And this isn't about trying to find the thing that you suck at. Because I guarantee you, Caitlin Laws steps off the ice after the Olympics, that she's sitting down and going, okay, what am I struggling with? What do I need to get better at? Even though she's a phenomenal curler. Okay? Everybody has something that they're always trying to work on. So your struggle doesn't necessarily have to be something horrible. It could just be something that you want to improve. Now, this is an important question too. It's not necessarily the most glaring thing. So let's say that my biggest struggle is generating power for takeout weights. And because I can't generate power out of the hack, I have to push with my hand. And sometimes that makes me go off the broom. So either I'm not throwing enough weight or I'm pushing with my hand and not hitting the broom. Maybe you also wrote down that your setup is inconsistent as a struggle, and you don't know how to hit the broom on a takeout or hold the rock, and your balance is off. Your number one struggle, in my opinion, might be your balance. If we can tackle your balance, it's going to make everything else so much easier to identify and assist you with. So your number one struggle doesn't have to be the most glaring thing. It could honestly be the thing that's going to help kind of solve a lot of your problems. Now, this is an interesting question. So we're starting to look at our vision. We're almost kind of sitting a little bit in the present moment. And I want you to see if you can rate these. So don't answer this question yet. Rate these values. These are things that are valuable to people. Rate the things that you feel are valuable to you. Maybe make a list. This is not an exhaustive list. So you can, of course, add things to this list. Okay, and maybe at different times of the year, so there's in season and off season, what do you value? What are your priorities? So for a lot of people in the off ice season, when there's no access to ice, they really value their physical fitness, their training time. But in season, they value their practice time. Maybe because you're curling so much in season, in the summertime, you really value your family and your relationships. Okay, and see if there's a goal for each of these values. Do you have a goal for your family relationships? Do you have a goal for your health, your wealth, how much money you make, your experiences? Maybe you want to travel more. Do you have any hobbies? Maybe you want one. Your team, what is a goal for your team? Okay, sorry for that. Had to let the dog out. So what are your values? Maybe identify what your top 2 or 3 is that are consistent between in season and off season. Maybe you've got a few. Okay. And see if you've got any big goals for those. Okay, this question is a pretty big question. Okay, so you've got, take some time, hit pause, come back to this question. This is a deep question and we're not going to dive too deep in it, but it's just interesting to start to think about. Now, visualize where you want to be in 2023. When we have this conversation, January 2024, what do you want to write down as your biggest accomplishment? What do you want to write down for how you want to feel? So what is your ambition for 2023? Answer this in terms of curling, in terms of fitness, in terms of life, in terms of just being a more awesome human. The next few questions all kind of go together. So what is the plan for your highest self? And I visualize your highest self as your best self, or your inner child, or your future you. What is the plan for your future you? What do you dream about when you're in the shower to accomplish? Okay, how does your, and a neat thing about thinking about who your best self is, how do they act? How do they dress? How do they spend their time? How do they respond versus react? What are the things that they worry about or focus on? What are your highest self's values? Okay, so this is an all-encompassing question you can dive in a little bit deeper on. And then go back to that emotion wheel. How do you want to feel in 2023? How do you want to feel? Okay, we know we've reflected on how you felt about 2022. We reflected on how you feel about your curling performance, how you feel about your performance in 2022. Now look ahead. How do you want to feel when we have this conversation in January 2024, next year? What we're doing is we're creating that dissonance. We're creating that separation between where we are now and where we want to be. So our brain is like, oh, I want to fill in that gap. What do I need to do? Let's go. We can start to think about, how am I not acting like my highest self right now? Because fun fact, if your goal is to win a certain championship, let's say you want to win the national championships, okay? You don't become a national champion without acting like a national champion. If your goal is to win the national championships, you have to be a national champion in order to become a national champion. Okay, so your highest self, your big ambition for the year, how do you need to act? How do you need to think? How do you need to spend your time? In what ways do you need to think bigger? Okay, maybe your goal is to curl more often, but the curling team that you're on right now only wants to curl once a month. Well, maybe it's time to start hunting down a new curling team, or encouraging your curling team to curl more, or finding funds so you can support it, etc. Okay, so what does that look like? And then just recognizing that, yes, we've reflected, we accomplished a bunch of things in 2022, or just reflecting on your whole and curling career. Okay, we've got to where we are right now, which is great. We're happy with it. But where I'm going, what got me here won't get me there. Especially if you feel like you've plateaued, you've flatlined. Something needs to change. Something needs to evolve. Okay, we need to take action towards getting ourselves to that next step. If you come back to that line, that progress line, it's not linear, it's up and down. In order for us to get to the next peak, we might need to do a couple of things different. And that's not necessarily doing more. It could also be cutting out the things that are wasting our time. I love this question. What do I have to say no to? So what scary things will this allow me to say yes to? What do I have to say no to? And what scary things will this allow me to say yes to? Just sit with that question yourself. All right, last few questions. So then we start to think about how we want to spend your time. Because my job is physical fitness and training and mindset work, I'm going to focus on what your fitness might look like, but feel free to print off your own. I pull up a notebook. I put in my notebook. I write out each month. I try to identify, for instance, my business, what I'm going to give people each month, like what kind of things are we going to work on. For example, we're going to do some better brushing in late January, early February, which is really exciting. Forgot to mention that on the live call, but so I kind of like to think it this way. When I'm curling, let's do it this way. So most curlers typically stop curling in April. Oops, that is not a circle. Okay, most curlers typically don't have much curling in April or May. Okay, so this is not the exact same for everybody, so feel free to move things around how you need to. Okay, so I like to kind of give 4 to 6 weeks, depending, of course, on what your season looks like, of kind of like taking the focus off. Maybe the goal is, yes, you have to do something physically active 5 out of 7 days a week. Okay, maybe make it a little bit more fun, a little bit more exciting. Okay, so that's where I typically put that 4 to 6 weeks is somewhere within April. This is the unstructured, let your brain recover from the curling season, let yourself reflect. Like maybe this is the time, if you've got any injuries, that you go to get somebody, you get a virtual consult with somebody like myself. You make sure that shoulder's feeling good, that knee's feeling good, so that when we get to the training part, you can go hard. Okay, so typically I have people focus on at least a 3-month off season. It's very hard to accomplish some big goals with only 1 to 2 months. So at least 3 months, especially if you're the type of person that maybe didn't train as much as they wanted to throughout the in season. It's going to take us a month to get your feet underneath you, which leaves us with only 2 months to really focus on improving. Okay, that might mean then that we start in May. And alternatively, if you're in an area where, for example, we have the Trillium Curling Camp, which happens in August, there's Hot Shots camps, there's adult camps, you might be starting in August. So you might want to start thinking about your training programs in May. If you're part of my newsletter group or on social media with me, don't worry, I'm going to be talking about off season, probably March, April into May, so you won't miss it. Okay, so April, time to rest, recover, rewind, do some rock climbing, take up rollerblading, do some yoga, just go to the gym and have fun, focus on getting back into a routine, what have you, see the shoulder, get the knee checked out, etc. Okay, that means that in September, October, November, December, January, February, March, we're on the ice curling. So this comes back to our values and our priorities. Okay? I'm going to focus on building as much strength and fitness during the green so that during the red, I can focus on being on the ice and maintaining my fitness. Okay. And this way too, if you're like myself and you've got friends who want to get married, I'm like, your wedding will be in May, June, July, or August. Bad joke. Okay, so feel free to use this idea with other goals that you might have. Okay, maybe your goal is to start meditating. Okay, so maybe even just printing off a calendar and checking off the day that you do that is the goal. Okay, or maybe the goal is to start training. Okay, I've got plenty of people that I work with in season that are working on maintaining their fitness, moving a little bit better, figuring out an injury, improving their curling abilities. So we couple the video analysis and the on-ice coaching, even though it's virtual, with a little bit of a training program to help them accomplish what they're looking for. Okay, so you can also think any other piece that you've been putting down here that's something that when you looked at your ambitions and your highest self, feel free to use this calendar how you'd like. Okay, so some suggested fitness focuses. Typically in an off season, this is the order that I will focus on things, which is why I like to kind of include May, at least May, especially if you're starting in late August, early September. And then of course, if we go back with, if you're more on the rec side of things and your curling doesn't start until October, November, then you could start your physical training a little later, or you could extend it a little bit longer. So I will share this Google Doc. And I apologize, I've got a shower running. I will share this Google Doc when I've sent out the recording. So you might have already seen this by now, but just a couple of ways that I might be able to support you on your goals, or at least if you send me an email, I can help you find someone, maybe if you're really like gunning for somebody in person. Okay, so recognize that I do have a full year of workouts planned. Hit play, watch the videos, use the programs. They come with education around improving your ability to breathe. So that's your endurance, your focus, your motivation, your memory, your ability to recover, help you with your balance. Again, remember that improving your balance helps you with things like hitting the broom and improving your power, decreasing your pain. And then of course, everybody wants to learn more about brushing. There's not a lot of information out there about brushing. I do have a learn to train program. So if you're one of those people that are watching this and you're like, never trained before, I'd like to start training. I know that some of my programs can be really in depth for somebody who's never worked out structured before. So an EP VIP program is appropriate for you because I can give you that structure. However, if you're looking for more of like a self-directed version, the Learn to Train program is for you, and I highly recommend it, highly recommend it right now, especially if you're thinking of getting some more one-on-one in-depth help in the summer. Alternatively, we can work out together every single week on Wednesdays. Okay, so I run a live workout every Wednesday, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard, and you get the Zoom link in the morning and you get the recording at night. So you can join for one session, or you can get a 4-week or 8-week package, and you get all of the recordings for that. So the nice thing is, for example, tonight, because today's Wednesday, we did a heavy lower body workout. We really worked on the glutes, the hip shift, kind of working on gaining strength and power in our lower body. And I have another athlete that I'm working with, one of the athletes that I'm working with is like, this is great because a couple weeks ago we did an upper body focus workout. So she was like, oh, I'm just going to do the upper body workout on Saturday. Okay, kind of switch things up so she gets that full body workout. So you get access to those recordings as well. If you're like, okay, I need to improve my balance, I kind of got a hip pinch, I do virtual coaching and assessments. So you can click that. It'll give you a little bit more in-depth information. A specific coaching consult would be like hiring a coach, come to the curling club, watch you throw, give you some suggestions, give you some drills. That's what we do in a virtual coaching consult. So it's actually not very specific to what your body can do, but I'm doing my best to kind of make some inferences. I do also have 6 yoga recordings. So if you're like, I love yoga, but I want to be more specific to curling, then you can check that link out. I have 2 different ones. One's focused more on recovery. The other one's focused on strength. And then the EP VIP is a VIP experience. So this is a minimum 3-month commitment. I absolutely love working with the people in the VIP because this is specific to what you want. So let's say you're like, you know what, I kind of want to start training now, but I'm still curling. As long as you've got a little bit of time to hop on calls, join, make sure you do a couple of the exercises, video your delivery. In season, we can do a VIP program, and I've got 3 people running through one right now where we're working on improving your delivery or your brushing. I'm helping you with your drills, giving you coaching feedback, and then of course giving you exercises for those days that you're off ice. Off season, this looks more specific to improving your strength and fitness. Okay, so if I go back 1 slide, this is what typically looks like an off season, whether you're focusing on one thing or we're focusing on a curling specific movement, we're going through the motions. So recognize that we have lots of options to help you achieve your goals and your dreams in the next year, help you feel the way you want to feel coming into 2024. Okay, so check out that link, send me an email if you've got any questions or you want to hop on a quick call and we can talk about ways that it can be more specific to you. So I want to thank you. I apologize for this being a really fast version of the goal setting session. I really wish the one that I did, there was a group of us that we did. I'm so upset because it was a really well done, really well organized presentation. I was really happy with the discussions that we have. we had, but hopefully you still get something out of this. And of course, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to send me an email and tell all your friends about the Empowered Performance programs. Okay, so thank you so much.